What's up, tribe? How you guys doing this evening? This is gonna be your love. No, it's not. It ain't love and nothing. It is marriage bootcamp, hip hop edition, episode 4. So look, we started this episode off. Remember last week, Soldier Boy, his punishment was that he had to get up and cook breakfast for everybody, and we sort of kind of thought that was gonna be a problem. Maybe y'all know Soldier Boy be on that stuff. But he got up, he cooked breakfast, he actually did a good job, he was in good spirits. They said he ain't smoke, he ain't get high, he was like sober while he was doing it. And it acted like he was actually even having a good time. Him and Nia didn't get into no type of argument. They was all bunned up and stuff. It looked like it was cool. So that punishment seemed to work out and all of that. So the exercise for today was facing social media, dealing with dealing with what you put out there in social media and how that affects your relationship, and two, dealing with who you are on social media versus the real person. And that's something that they've been talking about a lot with Soldier Boy, like Drew versus Soldier Boy, like who he is when he's just Dre versus who he is when he's Soldier Boy, right? And you actually see it when you watch the show. You can actually see how he sort of switches up a little bit. So they had this press conference, and in the press conference, they were sort of forced to deal with things that they had put on social media. One of the things that the doctors were saying, and I was like, it is so true. They said that studies have shown that jealousy, anxiety, and I think depression has increased with the rise of social media, and I definitely can see where that would happen. I've even found myself getting caught up in the bullshit. Somebody that you talking to, and y'all social media friends. I know I did this a couple of months back. I did this, and a friend of mine, and I was like, he ain't returned my text. But he posting on Instagram. We do that, and but whereas before, if somebody didn't call you back or didn't text you back, you didn't necessarily know what was going on. You know what I mean? Like, it's when you see it in your face or whatever. And then of course we know depression, and so forth and so on. Anyway. So they had the press conference. They started with Lil Mo and her husband with Damo, and they threw the tweets at him about the infidelity, and they threw the tweets at him about you only married Mo because she was famous or whatever. He handled it. I mean, he was a little, but he handled it pretty well, I thought. I think the person who handled the press conference the best was Jessica Dime. They threw at her about it being a stripper, and they were like, "Would you want your daughter to be a stripper?" And she was like, "No, I did it so she wouldn't have to." Drop mic. And she want to say, what, stripping is a job. Like, it's not something I necessarily want my daughter to do, but I wasn't out here doing anything illegal. Like, it's a job. So you know what, y'all know I love me some Jessica Dime anyway, but bravo, Miss Jessica, bravo. To me, the people that did the worst, I feel like, was Tammy and Walker. They got very defensive, and I follow Tammy and Walker on social media. They do put a lot of stuff on social media. Now, some stuff they don't put, it's exposed, but they put a lot of their life on social media, so you can't really get mad when you're faced with dealing with those things, the infidelity and the tweets and stuff like that. It's unfortunate, but it's a reality. And one of the questions that they threw at Tammy was, well, how much infidelity are you gonna put up with? And she sort of snapped back and was like, well, as much as I want, you probably being cheated on right now, don't even know. And I mean, we know that that's a defense, we get that, but in my mind I'm thinking, do you hear yourself talking? You know what I mean? Like, do you hear what you're saying? That is a question you need to ask yourself. As much as you love this man, and I think when things are good between them, I think they're cute. I think they're a cute couple, and I like them both. I mean, I don't know them personally, but I mean, just from what I see through social media and on TV, I like them. But that is a valid question that you have to ask yourself and say, how many times am I going to accept this? And one of the things they said, I know they keep making everything out to be the hip-hop community. And so one of the things they said was that infidelity is bad, blah, blah, blah. And it's even more prevalent in the hip-hop community. And I'm like, show me that motherfucking study. Who did that? Did Harvard do that study? Princeton, Yale? Who the fuck did that study that said that hip-hop stars cheat on their girlfriends more than rock stars? Please show me that study. So, like, don't make it seem like this is a hip-hop thing. People cheat because they cheat. People whatever, and they blah, blah, blah. People do that because they want to do it. And yes, being in the industry, you are exposed to more. You know what I'm saying? We know that. But don't sit here and tell me that hip hop groupies throw it more than rock star groupies. Please go ask the Rolling Stones how many times they done cheated on their damn wives, girlfriends, whatever. That's bullshit. Anyway, I just don't. That's the one thing about this show that's really irritating me, y'all. And it's been doing it from the beginning. And I was like, maybe I'm just being too sensitive. But it's like they making it seem like the hip hop community has all these problems that are not prevalent in other areas of entertainment, and I'm not going to accept that. You show me a fucking study that says that rap artists cheat on their girlfriends more than rock stars, more than R&B stars, more than country stars. Like, come on, stop that bullshit. Anyway, moving on. So the other thing that came up in the the other thing they brought up in the press conference with those tweets that Soulja Boy put out about Nia. Now, the reality is those tweets went out 2 years ago, right? Or more. But the point they were making is it's permanent. Once it's out there, it's out there. Whether you delete it, people screenshot it, it's archived. Like, we know that there are people, like, look at the situation that happened with Kevin Hart and with, with the Oscars and everything. Like, that stuff stays out there, and there are people who have nothing fucking better to do than to scroll your story and find anything you ever said that was horrible, whatever, right? So that's what we had, you guys. That was the press conference, and again, it was just for them to sort of face what they put out there and be mindful of. The doctor said one thing. They said, use social media. We're not saying don't use it. But use it to promote your brand. Use it to talk about, the superficial things that's going on in your life. Don't use it as a weapon, which is what a lot of them have done, especially those tweets by Soulja Boy where he was talking about Nia, her pussy stink and all this other stuff. Like, that is a weapon. And that is a very hurtful weapon. And that's something that is permanent. And, when it was over with, Nia was upset. And Nia said, I feel like it's happening all over again. Like, I'm embarrassed all over again. When they throw it at me, like, how could I forgive you for that? How could I walk away and be okay with those things you said about me? And so it brought it all back to life for her, and it wasn't a fun thing for her. It wasn't something fun for her to think about. So it was a good exercise, I thought. I thought that was a good exercise. So the next thing they were doing was they're going to have a dinner party that night. They're going to have a white and gold dinner party. And what they did was they did sort of a couple swap. And they had, I don't want to say chores, but they had things they had to do for the party while they're working with another partner. So I'm going to tell you who working with who. I wrote that down. So we had Nia and Drew working together. Oh, and that's the other thing that came up. There was rumors that Nia and Drew had messed around at one point. Lil Fizz had messed around at one point. So I feel like they sort of exploited that. So they put Nia and Drew together, and they had to make the dessert. And Nia was like, we are just friends. Like, why can't men and women just be friends? Like, why does it always have to be, oh, they hooked up, or oh, there's a history there, or oh, he trying to get with her? And I so agree with that. As somebody who was very tomboyish and grew up doing a lot of boy things, traditional boy things, I always had a lot of guy friends. And I could not tell you how much, I was just having this conversation the other day, how much I have dealt with rumors that, oh, she messing with him, or oh, this happened, because we hang out, because we play cards, because we watch sports, because I go to the bar. Like, oh my gosh, I just don't know. And so we got to really get away from acting like men and women can't just be friends and be cool, and it can't be something more there, or a history there, or a future there. Like, whatever. Moving on. So Walker and Tiffany are working together. They were making the flowers and doing the place settings. Soulja Boy and Lil Mo were working together. I forgot what they had to do. Oh, they were cooking. They had to cook. Shoot, they had to make the dinner, make the meal. Jessica and Damo, Mo's husband, they were making the drinks, and Sean and Tammy were setting the table. And I think each person got an appreciation for the other person. They tried to pair people together for specific reasons, and I think that, the one couple that, of course, Walker was treating Tiffany really nice, and he was listening to her, and he was really sweet, taking her ideas. When it was time for them to walk the stuff to the table, he, took her hand and walked her down. But the one thing I loved that I heard Walker say was, he was like, hey, Tammy told me all this. Like, if she's appreciating how I'm treating her, she need to thank Tammy. Tammy taught me how to do this. Tammy taught me how to appreciate a woman. And I was like, you better go ahead, Walker, and give it all the praise to your wife. Boo! I loved it. I loved it. He was like, yo, I was not this dude. Tammy taught me how to be this dude. The other thing I thought was really sweet was when Tammy was talking to Sean. You know, Sean's biggest thing is he wants Jessica to be a little more classy, in his words, and calm down a little bit. And one of the things that Tammy was saying was, it's not, he was like, he said, she says I hurt her feelings, but I'm just being honest with her. And I know she don't want me to lie to her. But I think what Tammy told him, which I thought was great, what he needed to hear was, she said, but there's a way you can be honest, but say it in a way that's not so negative. So if it's a dress that she's getting ready to put on and you don't want her to wear that dress because you think it's too tight, don't put that dress on because it's too tight. Say, babe, you know how sexy you look in that black dress. Why don't you wear that for me tonight? And that's a way of kind of putting it out there without it being so raw at her, And he was like, oh, I hear what you're saying. So I got kind of finesse it a little bit. She was like, yeah, it's not lying. It's just a nicer way of saying things. And so I thought that was cute. We saw, Drew and Nia got along really well. Because, of course, Drew, he messed up the dessert. But it wasn't an argument. They didn't get mad at each other, It was just kind of like, all right, well, we'll fix it. We'll figure out a way. And she was like, man, this was Soldier. We'd have been in an argument. They kept comparing. So they went to dinner. The date had to pick the other person up and walk them down to the dinner and everything. And it was really nice, But I think that each person maybe got something out of it. Like I said, I think it was a really good exercise. I think people were able to maybe see some good or some bad. Like I said, Tiffany and Drew just don't even need to be there. Like, their whole reason for being there is for a check. And you ain't going to convince me otherwise. Either that or when they signed up, they were a couple. And by the time, you sign up for this stuff, and it might take 2 or 3 months for it to happen. And by the time it actually became a situation, they ain't even together no more. But both of them signed up for it, so they're going to go through with it. Because they are a waste of couple. We couldn't have got another couple on here. Well, no other couple, because they are just, this is a waste. It is a waste. But neither here nor there. The dinner was cool. They had good conversations. It was nothing real explosive that happened. When Lynn Toller came through, Judge Toller came through, one of the things that stood out was the first thing she said was to Sean. She said, I don't ever want you to say again that your wife is not classy. She said the way that she handled herself in that press conference was class. And so I don't want you to ever use that word again in describing your wife, because your wife is classy. And I said, okay, Lynn Toller, you better get them together, because she did. She really did handle that really well. She really handled it well. Then they had, then they had a exercise where they gave them their phones back, and they said, we want you to tweet. Whatever you do, tweet, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. But put something down about your mate or yourself. It was yourself that you didn't know before. Tweet that out. And so they were tweeting out some really nice things. Like Sean tweeted out, I realized today that my fiance is classier than me. And I was like, oh, that is so sweet. So they tweeted out a lot of nice things like that. But Miss Nia tweeted out, I'm not as forgiving as I thought I was. I said, oh. All that stuff coming up embarrassed her all over again, And later on, we see her and Soldier getting into an argument. And Soldier's point is valid. Soldier was like, look, we are past this. Like, why are you getting mad all over again about something we've already dealt with, we've already processed, you've already forgiven me for? He was like, so what you trying to say? You didn't really forgive me? And she was like, I thought I did, but maybe I need some more time. And he was like, the fuck? Now, here's the problem. Soldier Boy is blaming Drew for it. And it wasn't Drew. It really wasn't. It was her seeing those words again and being embarrassed. That's why she's upset. And that's where that's coming from. But of course, Soldier's like, what the hell you and Drew been talking about all day? And now all of a sudden we got a problem. He was like, we was good this morning. We was all good, and they were, like I said, they was all bunned up and lovey dovey and hugging and everything. And now she's like, I don't know if I really forgave you like I thought I did. So that's sort of where that whole thing went down, y'all. So anyway, that was the episode. I thought it was a really good exercise, and I hope that the couple sort of take heed to it. There was a moment where Lil Mo had a little moment, and she got ready to cry, and she said, I always feel like a punk when I cry because everybody always expects me to be so strong. And I'm like, see, that's the problem. It's okay to cry, and there's going to be times when you need to cry. You got to get that out. Like, it's okay. And so she said something to the effect of needing him. She said, you're my only friend, and if I can't go to you, I don't know who I can go to when I got something going on, when I need to talk. I don't know if he fully heard her, because his response was, I am here. So I'm like, okay, you ain't really hear it. But hopefully they'll process and hear it, and hear each other, right? So that's how it went down, you guys. Y'all let me know what y'all think. I'm sorry it's late. Drop it in them comments. Peace.